and welcome back to Grandmasters for the Asia-Pacific region once again. Hunter Ace and myself are still bringing you all the action left to come. Only 2 matches left, however, before you will sadly be leaving me on the casting desk. All alone. I can't believe you're doing that.
Yeah, unfortunately. It's been a great time trying to turn my career into a casting career, but sadly it's over after this weekend.
You have to go back and play.
I didn't make the cut, so it's not working out, and I'll go back to my player status, I guess.
I think you've done an admirable job this weekend, but we still have a couple more matches left to go before we say goodbye to Hunter Ace. Our first one being a Rogue Mirror. We've seen a couple of these so far this weekend, and they're always, at the very least, entertaining. With blitzchung up against Patra. Patra looking to get her first win on the table here to start turning things around. And blitzchung, to be honest, maybe looking to try and get contention for top 3 playoffs, but at a 3-6 record himself, it's not looking all too good for him. As we take a look at his deck list here, one Spirit of the Shark is pretty interesting actually. It's not a version of the deck that we see all too much, as generally players tend to prefer the 2 of as much as possible in order to get the consistency off of the Battle Cry activation. But I think the by far more interesting rogue deck is Patra's, which includes a copy of Captain Greenskin, as well as a lot of the other weapon buff cards, like the Deadly Poison as well, to go for a much more aggressive game plan.
And here we have a Pathra's list, which is pretty unique, I would say. It has decided to cut some of what you would think would be the core cards, with cutting 1 Shadow Step together with the Togwaggle package, and instead deciding to go for a bit more of an aggressive package with the Deadly Poison and the Underbelly Fence.
Yeah,
which is pretty unique. It used to be very popular back in the day with in the World Championship, when it was before prenup with the raiding party list, but now we see that Pathra is trying to bring it here for the GM tournament, and it didn't really pay off for her in her previous set, but
it was close.
Yeah, it was really close, and she was super close to winning, so maybe it'll pay off here in the Rogue Mirror. I think that she might have a very good shot, because both Deadly Poison and Underbelly Fence can find a lot of value.
Yeah, and it's not even just that, it's also the cutting of the Spirit of the Shark that I find super interesting, because I know there's been a whole lot of debate raging back and forth on Twitter as to whether or not Shark even deserves a spot in Rogue. I know that Jay Alexander had a few very choice memes about how Spirit of the Shark is not a very strong card, as he is one of the most proficient Rogue players that we have in Hearthstone. I'd be interested to hear his opinion on the deck list if he's watching. But I think overall for Patra, I would assume that her slightly more aggressive list with higher burn damage, with the Deadly Poison and the Captain Greenskin, should actually put her in a pretty good spot this weekend against blitzchung.
Yeah, on paper this seems pretty strong, but at the same time, the Spirit of the Shark is, in my opinion, a very strong card.
Fair enough.
Cutting both the Spirit of the Shark, the Novices, the Evil Cable Rats, does make her deck a lot less potentially powerful, I think. But at the same time, she is going for a bit more of a consistent approach without it, which could really work out for if blitzchung doesn't get any of the powerful hands.
Patra holding on to both Hench Clan Thug and SI7 Agent. The SI I can obviously understand, being on the coin, trying to swing tempo early on, but the Hench Clan Thug is not a card that's always kept when you're on the coin, I find.
Yeah, did she keep it?
Yeah, kept the Hench Clan Thug. It does allow her the curve of coin SI into Hench Clan Thug, which is reasonably powerful, but do you think you would have held on to it there?
It's a very curious keep, because I don't think daggering up on 2 is what you want to do.
Yes.
So I would probably lean more towards reaching for my miscreants, but Pathra is playing a different type of deck, and just going for the curve might be pretty strong for her.
This is already a very interesting way to approach the matchup, with the very slow play of dagger on 2. I'm not certain how I feel about this actually. Like,
if she went for the coin Hench Clan Thug,
it would have gone terribly.
Incredibly punished by the backstab miscreant.
Playing any minion on turn 2 here would have gone absolutely horrendously. So whether she knew that the backstab miscreant was there or not, this did work out. I mean, this was the best way this could have planned out for Patra.
Yes, but it's still not panning out very well, I think. blitzchung still has the ability to go either Novice Eviscerate or the backstab miscreant into a potential Kobold Lackey or Rush Lackey to clear off the thing. But he could also go the Waggle pick, and that might be the option he leans for, because the Waggle pick will allow him to play multiple miscreants next turn, which could be very strong. I also imagine that Pathra most of the time will play a minion, which will activate the miscreant early, and then he can backstab the miscreant and shadow step the miscreant and then play another miscreant.
Yes.
That is very strong.
I like this play a lot from blitzchung. It might seem a little bit weak at first because of the fact that he well, he had a weapon in play. He doesn't want to override it with the Waggle pick. But like you said, the flexibility that this affords him next turn to go for either Miscreant Edwin or Novice Engineer with a pseudo Shadow Step effect is super powerful. However, Patra, while usually as the rogue you'd be very afraid of the Miscreant and losing board early on, she may be thinking that she just wants to go for the highest amount of burn plan possible.
Interesting enough, blitzchung is deciding that he would rather step the Novice and preserve his backstab than step the Miscreant. He also gets to play the Edwin this turn, in this case, which is pretty strong. But I'm a bit curious, though. I think that playing Miscreants here, we're just very strong, and just going wide in general versus Patra deck, and also not taking the damage there from Life Drinker, is something I would really look to, because Patra's deck is very on one minion all the time. She doesn't run too much white stuff besides the evil Miscreant, and she doesn't have any removal for any white stuff either. So, and she does have removal for the Edwin. So I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of the direction that blitzchung decided to go for here.
Right, especially as blitzchung, if he had gone wide on board and Patra had gone for the all burn plan, Ziliax doesn't necessarily shut that down completely, but it makes it significantly more difficult for Patra to get there.
And blitzchung would have just had a pretty good Edwin turn next turn anyways, because he would have had he would have had 4 lackeys in hand.
And now Patra is able to swing the board back in her favor, which wouldn't necessarily have been a possibility for her had blitzchung gone wider. But at the same time, you know, blitzchung would only have been able to play like 1 or 2 lackeys. So with Backstab, Abyss, and SI7 agent, there was a pretty reasonable chance, I think, that Patra would have been able to swing the board back in her favor either way.
Yes, but he would have had a lot of lackeys in the hand. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
but
that is
I think that is just a decision point. I think this is pretty strong too. He's saving onto his backstab. The thing that he was particularly weak to with this type of play was if Patra decided to go for a burn route, I think. But he has the Celiax for that also, so maybe it's just fine what he did. I think it might just be fine. It's just a different type of timing of your pressure cards.
I mean, they both lead to a similar kind of plan, right? Which is you burn them, you try and gain board control, and then if they go for the burn plan, you have the Ziliax to deny that. But I guess the benefit of blitzchung's play is the fact that if they don't have the answer to Edwin, your pressure mounts up very, very quickly indeed.
Yeah, it might have been a blitzchung's play, which is better considering he has both the Ziliax. I'm not sure if he had the life maker back there, but he had the Ziliax, and it could have potentially just baited Patra to go for an aggressive game plan, and then you just have the Ziliax to stop it. And from that point on, if the Edwin sticks, blitzchung just wins the race. So I actually don't mind it too much, what he did. Thinking more about it.
Patra presented with a pretty difficult decision, especially with Myra's being picked up off the top as to, or still, does she go for the burn plan or does she go for the ward control plan? We could have seen a full commitment phase there with the weapon as well and try and hope to find Leroy's Shadow Step off the unstable element on the following turn. Instead, she makes a kind of halfway play, which I think I actually quite like.
Yeah, she's just trying to get most value of her cards and also try to get rid of cards now that she has the Myerson still over his hand. Perhaps she really wants to get that up and potentially burn down blitzchung from a high range, but it's looking very difficult for her. So I'm not sure.
Blitzchung going with a Ziliax that didn't have to come down right now because it was basically impossible for him to die on the following turn. But I think it was just a pretty good way to clear up the board and develop some pressure, and also just kind of demand that this be removed off, because this is super threatening for Patra if she does not clear off the Ziliax, obviously with the repeating lifesteal available. So I think I don't mind it from blitzchung at all, even if it wasn't the most amount of pressure that he could put on the board.
Yeah, it seems like a very reasonable play from blitzchung. He's just trying to stay safe versus most of Pathra's play. It is not committing too much into the board, saving a lot of resources. I think in general now, blitzchung is in an incredibly strong position, and he's just playing around Pathra's max potential and the way he potentially loses her.
And this is, of course, one of the situations that blitzchung is most proficient in, being one of the classically very, very strong aggressive players. And in these kind of aggro mirrors, being able to balance your life total against trying to smoke your opponent down is a very, very fine dance you have to
Might be that Patra even just goes for Myra's head.
I mean, that looks like what it is, right, of Myra's and Edwin on this turn. If she's going to do it, though, she needs to do it quickly if she wants to be able to fit in a backstab as well.
Oh, she's actually preferring that one card over the 2/2 buff. I don't think she got the backstab in time there.
I'm out of cards.
She missed the backstab as well, which is actually devastating for her game plan. This has gone from a reasonable position with Waggle Pick into Captain Greenskin, to the point where the extra heal from blitzchung, the removal very easily of the Edwin as well.
And yeah, this is really just caused by Patra having a pretty difficult turn and a pretty difficult decision to make. And using a lot of time on making that decision, she left herself in a position where there was just not enough time left to react to the Myra's choice.
Yeah, we've seen this time and time again, especially at Masters Tour. There are a lot of players who are roping a little bit too much and ended up being punished for it. This from Patra, however, is a massive punish with leaving the Ziliax alive. It means I really struggle to see how she will have any chance of pulling this game back, unless, of course, we see a miracle off of the Hench Clan burglar.
Yes. And there is
Bite is a bit of heal, I suppose.
no potential of discovering Dr. Boomhair. And Patra still not entirely out of it, I would say. She has a pretty good turn here, where she can clear up a lot of stuff. But with the Shark from blitzchung's side the next turn, with a lot of battle cries, it just seemed like a very bad position.
I mean, I think she's just dead next turn, right? With Life Drinker, Step, Life Drinker, that's 12 damage, 16, so much damage available next turn.
It's a lot of damage. I'm not sure if it's lethal, but it might just be lethal, yeah. Wait, let me count.
I think it's lethal.
It's just lethal, yeah. It is just lethal. It's lethal by quite a lot, actually. So, blitzchung takes the game here. A bit of a misstep by Patra the previous turns.
Yeah, and the starting hand for blitzchung was obviously very, very strong in terms of the miscreant, the backstab, being able to keep up on board whilst also developing a huge amount of lackeys early on. It kind of brings into question Patra's early turns with keeping the Hench Clan Thug, but I think given that she did decide to keep that starting hand, she played it to the absolute best of her ability, because if she had gone for either the Underbelly Fence or the Hench Clan Burglar, or the Hench Clan Thug, sorry, on turn 2, she would have pretty much lost the game on the spot with the backstab miscreant.
Yeah, and we'll see a bit of the power of the Shark here.
Yes.
A lot
very good.
A lot of value with all the background minions. And we will see if Pathra's deck manages to pull it back in the next match here, because I don't think her tech cards are just showed off a lot of strength compared to blitzchung's build.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird spot that Patra's deck is in, because potentially I can see it being in a really, really good spot against blitzchung, because obviously she has a lot more of the burn cards in there, with being able to upgrade her weapons with the Deadly Poison and the Captain Greenskin. But the problem is when you switch away from the Raiding Party version, which is still a viable deck, by the way, the Raiding Party plus Prep, even though both of those cards have been nerfed, players are still tinkering around with the Raiding Party version. I think she's struggling with consistently drawing those higher burn options, which means even though she has the potential for a very aggressive game plan, it's not very consistent.
Yeah, and we will see if that kind of changes a little bit in the upcoming game. It might be that the Rogue Mirror is very reliant on Lackey generation in general, I think, because neither of the deck runs Sea Giant, so just going wide on the board leaves your opponent extremely behind and very hard for him to fight back. So I personally like for both players just kind of hard mulling in for the type of cards like Miscreant and Edwin Van Cleef, because those are like the winner cards, and keeping Hench Clan Thug is kind of against that. So I'm not a big fan of the Hench Clan Thug keep myself, but sometimes it turns out very well, and it didn't turn out that well in that game where blitzchung had the miscreant to answer it.
Right, in addition to all the other temper cards that
Yeah.
could kill it off very, very easily. And the top deck Waggle pick.
In addition to an Edwin.
Yes, yes, yes. It all went very, very well for blitzchung. But like you said, oftentimes in Hearthstone nowadays, good enough is not good enough anymore. You need to go for the really broken stuff when players are playing, you know, 1-mana 1/1 that summons a 2-drop, which
Good
is
enough
insane.
is not good enough.
Good enough is not good enough. You need the broken stuff.
Yeah, you do need the broken stuff.
I don't, but the other players do.
We consistently see that the best decks at the moment are just decks that have not necessarily the best consistency, but they have just this extreme broken win condition, and that is just more consistent than just being incredibly consistent at one thing, because in being incredibly consistent at one thing, like for example mid-range hunter,
Right, that's the example I was going to give.
has just been proven to not be strong enough versus what Rogue has been doing with their insane power turns of the Shark, the Miscreant, and the Edwins.
Right. Even when you have tracking in the Master's Call as well, it's a little bit too low power level, even though it is very consistent. As we just got confirmation that blitzchung is sticking with his primary deck, which makes a very good amount of sense, as he has an anti-mage and an anti-warrior sideboard. Patra, however, does have a mage or a deck that is suited for the mirror, with some pretty juicy cards teched into that tertiary deck.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that she had a version deck for the mirror, but yes,
That's
she
pretty
does.
good.
And she has 2 acidic swamp boosters, Snip Snap, Silex, and a Giggling Inventor. It's a very cool build. It's very interesting that she runs that Giggling Inventor
Yes.
as a tech card,
Yes.
especially when she does not run the Shark, which would be a very good card with the Giggling
That's
Inventor.
true.
So thinking she's thinking that the Giggling Inventor is still good enough, and a very good card versus the Rogue, which is a bit interesting. It's a 7-mana card, so it's very expensive. Together with the Usus, which are situational but very strong if the opponent commits into a Waggle.
Well, even without the Sharks, as a 7-mana Giggling gamer yourself, with your world's winning Shaman deck, I believe, running a copy of Giggling Inventor, what's your opinion on the inclusion here? Is it too low of a power level, or against the Rogue specifically, is it a good tech inclusion?
I think her list now is just a bit too slow and reactive. I personally, even though the tech cards in theory should be good versus an aggressive Rogue, I don't think they're that strong. And I would be surprised if it turns out to be extremely relevant to tech cards, because
Right.
I think that blitzchung can very consistently just avoid the game plans of going for a Waggle pick, and Giggling Inventor and Silex is a pretty good card, and Stimsap is a pretty good card, but it just seems that I don't think it's relevant enough. But this might prove me wrong.
Patra not finding herself on the coin this time. I mean,
And
she's
she's
found
already
3 of her tech cards
yeah,
here.
and now there's other consideration. How good does she think her tech cards is? Are she willing to keep it?
I would guess probably no. I think you want to look for the slightly higher power level cards.
Because these are all reactive cards.
Right. Like, I think Ziliax is probably the best keep out of all of these, right?
Yeah, but
I still wouldn't keep it. I still wouldn't keep it.
Yeah.
But I think it's the most reasonable out of all of these.
and I agree with this actually. And she's just going towards the Miscreant and her more powerful cards.
Right, the Thug, because while the Thug was pretty weak when you're on the coin, when on the play, the Thug can actually just be super powerful if blitzchung doesn't have an answer.
Because I don't think this Rogue deck is particularly strong at being reactive when it's not ahead. So
Yes.
Pathra has to get ahead, and then she can get her tech cards and get max value out of them.
And I think that's good recognition, right? Because we saw in the difference with Tyler in his first game versus his second game, where first game he was holding on to the walk the plank versus the mage with no pressure, which didn't feel especially strong. Then he learned his lesson, got the pressure, and got the win in the second game. And I think this is good recognition from Patra as well, to be looking for the more consistent game plan with just getting some pressure on the board.
And Pathra with a fairly difficult turn, I would say. The options there are between the Blink Fox and the Henge Clown Fug, and there is some consideration in playing the Blink Fox here, but it looks like Pathra is leaning towards just getting the max amount of pressure, which I like a lot.
Yeah, I mean, she'd have to hit pretty specific cards for them to be better on the next turn than other things she could do, like 1 mana cards for the miscreant, 0 mana cards for the miscreant.
If she makes that, she will get a bit punished by the Eviscerate from blitzchung, being extremely efficient here.
I mean, it would be pretty efficient either way, right? Like,
yes,
obviously you get a card off of the Blink
We would
Fox.
have got a card, yeah.
Yeah, but I think in the immediate, the
strong
extra card she gets on average is very unlikely to matter. And if the Eviscerate isn't there, the upside is much, much bigger.
Yes.
So I agree with this play.
Yeah.
Even though it gets punished. Or I shouldn't say punished, because that indicates that it was a bad play. It doesn't work out for her in this instance.
Yeah. And Patra is following up with the Blink Books here. Doesn't really have too many other options. She really wants to get to her miscreant and then start to develop lackeys. That is one of the big things about being on coin. You have the natural miscreant activate.
Yeah.
And blitzchung getting quite ahead because of that. And now setting up the Spirit of the Shark.
Right.
Potentially looking to
setting up for a big pull ahead.
Yes.
Patra finding the raiding party is kind of interesting for a couple of reasons. Primarily because she still has 1 copy of the Henge Clan Burglar, so she could get full value with Captain Greenskin, Wacklepick, and the Henge Clan Burglar if she ever finds time to play this raiding party.
Yeah,
which, as it currently stands, it doesn't
she
look
really
like
wanted
she will.
to play the miscreant here, but playing a sap on one of those minions just
so bad.
Yeah, just didn't feel worth it. And blitzchung here really wants to top deck any 0 mana spell, and he top decks 2.
Both. Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Do you reckon he plays it again? Because he could save it for the Togwaggle, but yeah, I mean, I guess the 2/2 drops is a bit too insane. Yes. Explain why you are pogchamping with your face.
Yeah, and Rogue doing some rogue stuff again.
This is Rogue through and through.
Yeah. And Pathra,
she wanted a sap target. She's got the sap target now.
Yeah, now she got the sap target. Conveniently to deal with this 18/18 Edwin. She also has the walk the plank, but I think she really wants to go for the sap here to get the miscreant activated already.
I agree.
To make a comeback here, she really needs to get on the board herself. She can't just stay reactive because that just doesn't work. And I actually think that even though this looked very bad for her, I think she has a pretty good comeback here with killing off the shark pretty efficiently and also getting back on the board with miscreants.
Well, killing off the lackey is also super important to deny High Sparrow and Togwaggle.
Yes.
Of course, as a possibility on turn 6 for blitzchung.
Yeah, so she can also kill off lackey, which I think she will probably do.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to see that, even though... Whoa, give me a small heart attack there. Even though the Novice Engineer can be upgraded to a 3-mana minion instead of a 2-mana minion with the Witchy Lackey, I fully agree that this is still the right play.
Yes, and now blitzchung in a bit of a trouble. Even though he had an insanely powerful turn.
Yes.
Pathra with the sap answer, together with the miscreant, just efficiently managing to get back on the board.
Blitzchung here looked like he was going to snap play the Witchy Lackey at the start to upgrade, well, either of these minions would be pretty good. But eventually coming to the realization, oh wait, this Lackey is pretty useful to go with the High Sparrow and Togwaggle should he desire to go for it.
And I actually imagine that blitzchung would like to save onto the thing, the Lackey, but he decides to play it. I was actually legit looking at the 2/2 Edwin.
Really?
Into the SI7 in here, just to get the most amount of pressure into your Togwaggle turn next turn, but it was a bit ambitious. I was looking at it. I didn't say I was wanting to do it.
I mean, it wouldn't have been that bad, right? Because, I mean, Togwaggle here, given that blitzchung is under very little pressure, would be insane.
Yes, but blitzchung does have pretty powerful curve here without the Togwaggle, and that seems like a likely thing he wants to do. Also, sometimes Pathra doesn't clear off the 1/1.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Sometimes she doesn't clear off. It's looking very likely that she will, as again, Togwaggle is a big concern.
If she decides to go for SI7 agent here on the
would she go for that over Edwin? I guess it might just.
But
be
now
with the zap,
you might still kill the SI7 agent here.
That's true. Yeah, that actually still stops the Witchy Lackey. So I guess, actually, as it currently stands, it looks like the Lackey will survive.
Yes. And blitzchung here maybe recognizing that a lot of the powerful plays from Pathra involves not killing the Witchy Lackey, and then setting up a very powerful play from
This guy's toast.
Pathra, paying respect to the
She
Togwaggle.
makes the read.
The read! And that's
Wow.
incredibly...
Rewarded for it pretty big time.
Yeah, very rewarded for it. And blitzchung here picking up
Wow.
ancestral healing. Compared together with Edwin, but it might be that he is looking for the other cards also.
I think the swipe makes the most sense to me. It's a bit of AoE,
He could also
right?
full clear the board with the Blessing of Might. And yeah, with Pathra making that,
Yeah, maybe it is
what
the might.
didn't seem like the most powerful play, but was playing a lot against what blitzchung could potentially have in his hand, is starting to really get back on the board. Because if she would have made the most powerful play there, she would have gotten really punished by the toggle, and I don't think she would have gotten back from that. But now she's looking in a pretty good position.
I mean, she's looking in a position where maybe, again, I mean, if she can go for another swing turn here, she could start just going for damage, like just push face here, because with what, Walk the Plank, Kobold Lackey with a backstab as well.
And that is
that's insane.
very good for this turn.
Or actually, maybe she goes for Edwin.
She can pair that together with the Miscreant, the Kobold Lackey, and the Edwin.
Yeah,
to,
it's Edwin.
Yes, to get to generate a lot of value and also a lot of pressure. And I'm not sure if blitzchung is able to come back from that. That seems incredibly strong.
The Brotherhood shall prevail.
Very strong turn for Patra here indeed. And for blitzchung, his decision, seemingly innocuous, to throw down the Witchy Lackey is being met with pretty disastrous results, as he has very, very little to occupy the board whatsoever.
But with the Vendetta pickup, he manages to find a pretty convenient clear from her.
He does,
He
but
could clear up the entire board if he wants to.
Patra's still in a
play
pretty
life
good
drink.
spot though.
Yes, Pathra is in a very good spot, but blitzchung is just one Lackey generator away from a potential Togwaggle, which would be extremely strong. He's also not that far off lethal.
Patra, however, has so much in terms of value with the raiding party in addition to all these lackeys.
Yeah, and I think that the directions Pathra decided to choose here is going to be extremely important for the game outcome, and she has to really think about these turns and try to make the most efficient plays, because this is the point where she seals the game. So she decides to go for the raiding party, which only picks up the green skin.
Yeah, she's already
with
drawn the...
No, she cut the burglar.
She got one burglar.
Yeah,
I
and
believe.
she drew the other one.
Yes, drew the other one.
Blitzchung here with backstab pickup is okay, but not leaving it. And playing the Togwaggle player.
Oh, he's in tempo Togwaggle
Yes,
time now,
he's
which
in,
is never a good position.
Yeah, tempo Togwaggle player. So he's playing towards the burn condition rather than his potential Lackey condition.
And the giggling inventor here for Patra is insane. You clear the board. The only real win condition for blitzchung at that point is pushing for burst lethal damage. And those Annoyotrons
It
come
is
to
good,
the rescue.
but
It's insane.
I wouldn't say that it matters.
I'm going to pretend you didn't say that. I want to have fun with
in
giggling
this
inventors.
specific game. I don't think it matters too much, but it's a very...
I mean, it just locks out any chance, right, of blitzchung winning, because maybe with the perfect series of draws, he could have got a lethal here. It's unlikely, but that's what I mean. Obviously, Patra's still in a very, very good position anyway.
Yes.
But it means there's no chance at all for blitzchung now, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So, blitzchung here could have potentially had Leroy Shadow Step. That would have been... That would have... Wait. If blitzchung... No, that wouldn't work.
I wonder.
Blitzchung had Leroy Shadow Step, Leroy Shadow Step. He would have board locked Pathra, but Pathra had the waggle pick to bounce one of her own minions.
But then she would only have been able to play the giggling inventor, which wouldn't summon any Annoyotrons, right?
Yes. So
A
that
7
would've-
mana 2/1 sounds less good.
So how much damage do we have then? And then if Blitzchung then proceeded to top deck any burn card, he would have won.
So there was still a chance for him.
Choose soon.
I mean, might he have just,
Wait,
he
he
might
might
have
have
just
been dead.
died,
He
right?
might have been
yeah,
dead,
yeah,
actually.
just life drinker with a step.
No, it wouldn't be that. I think he would have been alive.
This guy's
He would
toast.
have been alive. but yeah, that's very unlikely.
Yeah. Doesn't even come to fruition here anyway with...
He might have. It depends a bit what he bounced.
I mean, it would have to be 2 draws off of 1 for blitzchung here. Like, I mean, there's just nothing you can do now with.
And is this lethal now?
Not quite, I don't think. Or 6-8. Like with a correct bounce, yes.
Curious to see what Patra goes for. She goes for
Oh, no,
the
even then, no.
Togwaggle. So she wants to go Togwaggle together with Life Drinker?
Do you mean the green skin?
I don't know.
Not Togwaggle. Yes.
That's a green skin. Correct, Derek. You're correct.
You were just testing me, I'm sure, right?
I was just testing you. You're also correct. And Patra out of range of any lethal possibility here, as far as I know.
Yep. 2-card combos just never get there for blitzchung.
I don't.
Maybe Blink Fox can get something. Not that.
The Necron Blade does not get there, and Patra ties it up. 1-1.
Super important, potentially in with a chance now to get her first victory here in Grandmasters, and I think that was a lot more like it from Patra. After the first game, looking a little bit like she wasn't focusing on the good bits of Rogue, rather like playing a little bit too reactively by holding on to the SI and the suboptimal Hench Clan Thug. This felt a lot more like it, like very strong tempo swings there and good matchup understanding.
Yes, I believe that Patra played that game very well, and we also saw that the Giggly Inventor that sealed the game there, according to Daruk.
The giggle nuts.
She had that even in her back pocket there to potentially play it if she wasn't in any danger. So full control there for Patra, and tying it up now 1-1.
You still this is where in casting you fake up the hype with the giggling inventor to get the giggling inventor PogChamps in chat.
I did say that the Giggling Inventor was ready to seal the game.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it was.
Right, and then
It didn't seal the game because
that's halfway there. The final step is that is a huge draw. We'll get you there one day.
One day, Derek. But unfortunately, there won't be another day for my casting
Not here
career.
at least. You're relegated to only playing in Grandmasters rather than casting it as well.
Yeah.
You're going to be playing your next game tonight, I believe.
You're correct. So we will see that later today if I'm able to concentrate after way too much casting. And I don't think that will affect me well, but we will see.
I mean, you were playing pretty well against Orange last night from what I saw.
Yeah.
I was proud of you, buddy.
I think I was playing okay, so hope I'll be able to do that today also. But it's not really about me now. Now it's about the players.
That's
and,
right.
Patra versus blitzchung here, up in game 3. And who do you think is going to win, Derek?
I would have to say Patra's in the lead right now. She's got the anti-rogue sideboard teched in there that was looking pretty good. I mean, we didn't see too many of the cards come into play in terms of actually denying what blitzchung was trying to go for, but even just the threat of them, right, meant that, again, blitzchung, even with the perfect set of draws, Patra had the counterplay with the Ziliax and the Giggling Inventor. It meant that I think there was very little that blitzchung could have done to come back into that game, and there's a very good chance that they will be even more impactful in this game if blitzchung does end up going for more of an aggressive burn plan rather than a lackey game plan, which obviously lackey is what he's trying to do primarily. It's insanely powerful, especially in this Shark deck, but as long as Patra doesn't lose to too much early board control at the start of the game, I think she's in a really good spot.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And in the last game, blitzchung had a very powerful start, but Patra, with taking collusion of the sap, managed to deal with the Edwin and come back herself with her own miscreant and just seal the game. And it was a pretty impressive performance, I would say. A good step from the first game.
Speaking of both players looking for miscreants, both players have miscreants. A very strong start for both the players here. I mean, blitzchung's hand, given he's not on the coin, is insane. Being able to go for Cable Rat Step and then Cable Rat Miscreant on 3, does it get better than that on the play? Not much.
Yeah, not much. It might be that some specific hands could be better in it's situational, but this is a very good starting hand, and he's very happy to see this. And I think Patra is also very happy.
I agree.
And she actually keeps the Life Drinker over the Ooze.
I find that surprising. I was expecting.
I
was expecting a double mulligan.
Yes, I was also expecting a double mulligan. I find that surprising too. I also found but this was maybe a game where we see the Ooze keep because she already had the miscreant. So
Right. You're more allowed to keep your tech cards.
yes, because we have the
The good
card.
stuff already.
We have the good stuff, yeah. And Pathra here going for the coin miscreant already.
Yeah, I think like there's sometimes consideration to not go coin miscreant because obviously it opens up a backstab miscreant from blitzchung.
But
obviously with the step cable rat, she knows there's always
Yes.
the ability to go miscreant here. So this is no consideration.
if
you just play it.
yeah, if blitzchung, for example, had the killer up on board and didn't step it, I think it would have been way more real to, for example, dagger up and save the miscreant for one turn. And the blitzchung here going for the eviscerate. I think he's respecting the potential of Patra shadow stepping the miscreant quite a lot. And,
Or even just the value trade witchy lackey would also be pretty scary.
yes. And I'm curious to see what Patra does here. She could respond to the board by going for backstab SI.
Yeah.
She could also go backstab and not SI with a dagger up. She could also go backstab and snap. A lot of options that I all think are very real. And she decides to go for the backstab together with the SI. And is that a backstab top deck? No, it's not.
There's a lot of interesting stuff there. I think when you mentioned backstab snap, I think I actually like the look of that quite a lot because like next turn being able to go lackey plus the SI7 agent was potentially really big there, and the snap is arguably the better body to put on board when compared to the SI7 agent.
Yeah, I'm also a bit curious. I don't think that SI7 agenting one of the ones did too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I might have leaned towards going for either the snap or the hero power faces lackey a bit more too, but I'm not sure. I can definitely see where Patra is coming from here. She just thinks that she's in a solid position and can just take it a bit faster and just respond to blitzchung's board, and she will be fine. Patra could have went for the waggle pick to deal with the miscreant, setting up a bounce next turn, but she didn't really have too many good bounce targets, so she decided to go for the lackey instead, and she goes for Headcrack.
Over the vanish or the assassinate, and she gets the wild pyromancer here. How does that affect things? If she goes for, that's never good, right? Like she'd go for the trade with the SI7 agent into the miscreant and then shadow step it.
Yeah, it just makes her not able to use the shadow step.
I mean, like she. Yeah, no. It's just bad. It's just bad. I was looking like she could step one of the lackeys and then get a whirlwind effect that kills off the opposing lackeys or opposing 1/1s. But yeah. It's just bad.
And blitzchung here with a hard turn. I'm curious to see how he's going to approach this now. He could go for the Celiacs to just clean up very efficiently, but
I think against Patra's deck with the high amount of burn damage, saving the Ziliax for heal feels really nice. Especially as he has some strong alternative plays.
Yeah, I think he will lean towards doing either a board development play or maybe the waggle pick, but he's really afraid with the waggle pick because Patra does run the oozes.
Double ooze, yeah.
Peace and quiet!
Does he ever go wanted? That's not bad, right? To kill off a minion and get a little bit of extra tempo.
Choose
Well,
soon.
it's not very good either. So I'm not sure. It looks like he's going for the wanted.
The problem from here really is just that he's kind of running out of value.
I'm a bit curious why he wants to go for the one and over the waggle pick though.
I mean, I guess like you said, it is the ooze that he's afraid
Well,
of.
the one that didn't do that much more than the waggle pick will, like the waggle pick will eventually get oozed anyways.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's
So
fair enough.
giving Patra more time to draw the ooze doesn't seem that necessary, right?
Especially as the minion seems bouncing, didn't seem that bad.
And yeah, also, and the waggle pick just did exactly the same as the one it did.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he avoids the damage, but like he's gonna have to waggle pick something, right?
yeah,
And taking damage is not
it
that
seems
bad, too.
very ambitious from just trying to winning white out the waggle pick this game. I would have personally liked to see the waggle pick there. Even white out the caster bias that Patra does not have the ooze in her hand. I mean, I'm with the caster bias, but
Right. Well, no. I mean,
even in situations
yes.
where she had it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that if when the ooze comes down, the waggle pick is about the same as the wanted. When it's not there, it's insane, right?
Patra here stepping the faceless lackey, trying to generate some more stuff. I mean, wow, ooh, that's a very good minion.
That is a very good point. And this makes some amount of sense to me because I think she's really just trying to set up for a Myra's unstable element fairly soon.
Yes, and blitzchung here potentially could. I think it has to go for waggle pick now. I would have loved to see the waggle pick last turn.
Yeah.
But at this point, it just feels way too bad not to play. He's playing incredibly defensive here.
Unity, precision, perfection.
He's not playing very aggressive, but
Yeah, he really is.
again, I have a caster vision, so. But believing that you don't, I guess that since the Myras, this might be bad, but versus a lot of hands, this might actually be good enough to just never play the waggle pick. And Pathra,
But I think he's starting to run out of stuff, right? Like Patra's hand, if it has any amount of value.
He has the Ephera Lackey and the Henschlamberger. So I guess this play makes some sort of sense. I think the Silex here is in a pretty good position. I think we have the read on Pathra not having anything too reactive, because that could have been used last turn to clean up the Dalaran I have no clue. what cards
Librarian?
are called. Librarian, yeah. Yeah, the Dalaran Librarian, and therefore we go for Silex here because he thinks that the Silex just a lot of the time just gets all the value it needs. And the more I think about it, the more reasonable it actually seems with having those reads.
I like the use of the unmagnetized snip snap there as well. I think goes wide alternative for Patra, as we've talked about. It's very difficult for the
also
rogue to
with
deal
knowing blitzchung does place 2 steps in
Yes.
deck. That seems a very good play. And blitzchung here is starting to make a comeback, I feel. He has quite a lot of powerful cards here that generate more cards, which could potentially be very strong here. He could go the Henchclan Burglar together with SS7 to clean up some of the board. And lay on hands.
Is there any reason to go Flare? Like, Flare's not ridiculous, right? It gets him a little bit of extra cycle, but yeah, I think overall the extra surprise healing that Lay of Hands could get him could be insane.
And another sap. So blitzchung here deciding to hold on to the SI7 agent and rather just playing the Blink Fox. He doesn't think it's too relevant to clear off any of the snip snap yet. And the lay on hands might be pretty good. Pathra here, with the big pickup of the SS7 here now. Compare that together with the waggle pick, clear up 2 of the minions, and potentially push a lot of face damage. By a lot of face damage, I mean 4 face damage.
I mean, it starts to rack up very, very quickly with all this burn damage that Patra has in hand, and of course the Myras as well.
He decides to go for the Eviscerate instead. And value trade, just try to get more value of her resources.
Well, I think it's less about value off of resources. It's just about like, just trying to get rid of everything what's on the board completely, because that's often the best accompaniment to Myras. Is just making sure you don't die to counter aggression.
And from blitzchung here, I think that he wants to play the Daring Escape here. I think he wants to play the Daring Escape and SI and then reroll both the SI and no, he doesn't want to go for that yet. He wants to just develop on the board and contest.
It does mean that he's committing every single one of his battle cry minions onto the board.
Also, it does mean that Pathra has the potential to shadow step her snip snap and play 3 snip snaps.
From blitzchung's perspective.
Yeah, from both perspectives. I mean, Pathra could have done that if she wanted to.
If she had it.
But she has that.
Oh, sorry, with the waggle pick. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. I thought you meant the, yeah.
Yeah. But she decides that she just wants to play for tempo, and she doesn't think that getting the maximum value of the snip snap this turn is relevant enough. And instead she bounces the life drinker.
It's kind of a weird game where both players seem to think that the other person has a huge amount of burst and is therefore playing super defensively with their health total, but neither player really has the crazy amount of burst that they need to be afraid of.
And also here we see the power of Pathra just having Ooze in her deck, because blitzchung has been clearly making a lot of weaker plays versus non-ooze hands,
Yeah.
but paying a lot of respect to the potential of the ooze. Just never playing this waggle pick in previous turns, where it would have been very good in case of no ooze.
And I think, like you said,
he's just ending in a position now where it's just more and more likely that Pathra has the ooze.
Yeah.
So many
And
options.
there's not a lot of good plays now.
and I think earlier on for blitzchung, like there was a board where even if the ooze was there, none of the bounce target, none of the minions he had on board that would have been bounced back were that bad.
Yeah,
and I think that was
and
really the opportunity to go for it.
And I don't think the ooze was particularly good either.
Yeah.
It was just a 3-2, and she couldn't develop too much besides it. So I think that blitzchung did miss an opportunity to play out this waggle pick earlier. And Pathra now, seeing that with the
Really
waggle pick,
turning up the pressure.
yes, up with the pressure, and also get rid of a bunch of her cards to set up for her Myras potentially. And
This is
Pathra
starting
here.
to look really good for Patra.
Yes, Pathra here looking really good. I would be surprised if blitzchung manages to get back here. It seems incredibly hard for him now.
Lay on hands is incredibly slow in this situation when he's facing down all this pressure from Patra.
Yes.
And while he may be thinking, okay, Patra is finally running out of cards, maybe I can get there with the value plan, we can clearly see not only does she have the Myris, she has what is, in my opinion, an even better play on this turn of just Thug Greenskin and push even more damage face.
Yes. I would like to see the Thug Greenskin here. Just putting on the pressure. There's no need to hurry with the Myras. As long as we have the board here, there's no lot can go wrong. And in worst case, when blitzchung managed to make a comeback, we have the Myras for a bunch of new cards. And
Oh yes.
this is the type of situation in that where I think it's over.
I think it might be over. Blitzchung has one last turn though where he can make some pretty powerful plays. Anyway, Blink's Fox doesn't reduce the Vendetta, does it? So it's no way to make the Vendetta cheaper.
So many.
So sap,
options.
backstab. Like, I mean, he can still find something good off the Blink Fox. Maybe if he finds an Eviscerate or a Stolen Steel or something, that could get him the ability to reduce his Vendetta.
Stolen Steel.
I mean, it's
Yes.
something, right? It's something in a
Stolen
pretty
Steel,
bad situation.
potentially. Henge Clan Burglar.
Oh.
Underbill Fence does not do it. And I think that is it. Or maybe it's not it, but
I think that's pretty much it. Blitzchung can clear a little bit of the damage off this board and even set up a big Edwin on this turn. But again, I'm just not sure if it's enough.
and blitzchung taking the loss here is a big problem for him, because now he's going down to a 3-7 record, and from a 3-7 record, especially in this group, I don't think it's possible for him to make it anymore.
I think it's very, very unlikely.
I actually just don't think it's possible.
Right, Tyler and Blood Trail feel like the two main contenders to really have any chance of getting through to playoffs. Tyler feels
Yes.
like he's in with a pretty good spot, as he tweeted out. Patra now having, how much damage is this available? 10-1 damage off lethal as it currently stands. With the head crack, that's going to be game.
That will be game. You're correct.
And here we have it.
Pathra takes her first win on the board.
Long overdue, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well
And blitzchung unfortunately going down to a 3-7 record, looking pretty rough for him, and Pathra starting the redemption arc.
She is indeed 1-9, finally getting her first win on the table. And I think, as we saw from that Rogue gameplay, especially in the last couple of games, looking a lot more like it with the Rogue gameplay. I think showing fantastic understanding of the matchup. That last game was such a weird one where both players, I feel like, were psyched out by their opponent. They both thought all the damage was there, even though it necessarily wasn't. But I think Patra, the main thing that was working in her favor is she knew that she had Myra's unstable element. So even if the game continues at a stalemate for a good long while, she has the inevitability in the late game of being able to go for Myra's unstable element, huge amounts of burst damage. And at that point, I think blitzchung would have been very much struggling to win.
Yeah, and also that a very important factor here was that, not like with the tech cards that Pathra decided to play in her tertiary deck, it wasn't necessarily that they were that strong for her to play, but the fact that she had the option to keep them all the time, but decided to mulligan them, but at the same time always have them represented in a way from blitzchung's perspective, just forced blitzchung to make what, in a case of there not being no tech, are just suboptimal plays. So the Us, even though it didn't say play at all, had so much value in that series. And I think that if blitzchung just didn't respect Us at all, he might have ended up victorious there.
And I think that's so often the case with tech cards. It's not even when you play them. Very often, as we saw with Patra, you mulligan away the use. She did that in both the games that she actually had it, I believe, right? And it's still powerful. It's just the presence of it maybe being there, making your opponent make these weird plays that can really mess up what your opponent is trying to do. And I think, like you said, from blitzchung, maybe you should have thrown caution to the wind a little bit more, because it's not even like if Patra had the ooze, he would have been blown out of the game. He still would have been in a fine spot if the punish had been there.
Yeah, and he would have been in a very good spot if their punish wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I think that there was one point there where he should have pulled the trigger on the waggle pick, even though there was a punish with the ooze, but he didn't do it, and he took the L in the game. And Pathra's tech are just paying off a lot.
Yeah, she's in a very good, very nice for her to get the win now, as we do, I believe, have Patra on the line for an interview. Can you hear us, Patra?
Yes, I can. Hi, Derek. Hi, I'm Hunter Ace.
Hi, Patra. You did it! How are you feeling?
Yeah!
Woo!
I won a game, finally! But, I mean, the chat's going to feel bad I didn't, you know, get O10.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of very, very happy Patra subs in chat right now. I mean, overall, not even just in this game, obviously you're feeling great with the victory. How is that? How do you feel during that game? How do you think the gameplay went for you?
I feel like the only turn that I really dislike was when I mirrored and the rope got me because it's just server lag. But I was basically just fighting for the board most games, and I was like, okay, now I can push face.
I mean, I think it worked out pretty well, right? Because you had the Myras in a lot of those matchups, so you had the inevitability in there. And I think we really liked the way that you were approaching some of those matchups, especially in the last couple games.
Yeah, we for sure did. And we also saw that you mulliganed away very crucial tech cards, even though they're tech for that specific matchup. And we actually really like that, because we feel that a lot of the time the tech cards, even if they're not in the hand, they represent them being there. So in this specific game, blitzchung just never played his waggle pick, even though the waggle pick was very good. So it paid off very much, and you also got just better hands because you mulliganed them.
Yeah, I really just don't like ooze early game. I like it later on, and same with the Giggly Inventor.
Yeah, so now that you've got your win on the table, I want to know, is this the start of the turnaround, the Patra we all knew that you could be?
Yeah, I'm just here to break people's scores. Yeah, I'm going to try to get some more wins.
And it's also important for the preparation for next season, right? Which will have relegation, and also Pathra could potentially qualify for playoffs then, because there's one spot for the next stage this season, but there's also will be another opportunity next season that would be even more important to perform it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it brings a tear to my eye, Patra, to think all the way you've come from our days when you introduced me into the casting world. You were, I think, the second person I ever casted with when I first started out. So I'm very, very happy for you starting to see some wins here in Grandmasters.
Yeah, I'm also really happy to see you casting in Grandmasters, Derek.
Oh, you shouldn't have. I totally wasn't setting you up for that, I promise. And well done, again, for getting the victory here. We really liked your play a lot, and I wish you the best of luck in the coming weeks.
Thank you, guys.
There it is. She got the win. I'm very happy for her. I'm throwing paper up in the air. I'm so excited. Let's have a party.
Yeah, Patra getting the win on the board, and looking in a solid position to get the redemption arc for season 2 now. Just got to keep it going now, and I think she played pretty well in those series.
Yeah, I agree. I think overall Patra, you know, I think there was a little bit of shakiness, honestly, in the first weeks, but recently I think she's been playing very, very good Hearthstone, and it's been long overdue to get a win on the table. So I'm really, really glad for her getting that victory now, and it does mean that we are almost done. It's not a 5-match day. This is Bumper Sunday. We have 6 matches, so one more match coming up before we close things over and send it over to Europe. So don't go anywhere. A quick break before we bring you our 6th and final match of the day.